Hello and welcome to Infinite Self-Worth After Narcissistic Abuse. This channel is all about helping women to understand and recover from this insidious, deadly form of abuse. I'm McMahon. I'm a clinical NLP hypnotherapist, life coach and author, and I work with professional women who want to fully take back control of their lives. Now, there's a lot of talk out there about how omnipotent and powerful narcissists are. But the truth is, they're not. They just believe they are. And until you learn that truth, you might think they are too. Now, I want you to know that you can heal. You can be happy again. You can learn the power of self-love, and you can attain infinite self-worth after narcissistic abuse. The kind of self-love that will enable you to never become a victim again. Okay, so let's get started with today's video. I hope you enjoy it and find it helpful. Hello, hi, right, in this video I'm going to talk about gaslighting and invalidation and what to do when your reality is threatened. Now, gaslighting is an emotional abuse tactic very commonly used by narcissists who manipulate you into questioning your own perceptions. They're adept at making you doubt your own reality. And the term comes, just in case you don't know, the term comes from a 1944 film where the bad guy keeps doing things to make his wife doubt her sanity. So, for example, he keeps hiding special items of hers, then telling her that she's to blame for losing them. And she begins to think she's losing her mind, because she's got no clue that he's the cause of all this. And so she starts to rely on him even more. And this is all part of the narc's strategy. Now, the gaslighting in the house keeps dimming, and she keeps hearing this knocking on the walls. And when she tells him about these odd things, he says she's imagining them. But of course she's not, because he's responsible for all of these things happening. So it's an old film, but of course it's a little bit dated, but it's worth a little watch. I won't tell you the end. So anyway, so gaslighting in today's world of narcissism is basically the same. The narc will keep doing and saying things to make you question your reality. And they're incredibly tenacious in their application of this tactic. They can keep this up endlessly, for years if need be. You know, it would exhaust a normal person. And that's kind of what it does to you in a way. It emotionally exhausts and weakens you and wears you down. And the scary thing about gaslighting is that it's very insidious. And it can take many forms. And I'm going to talk through a few examples of those kind of forms. So, first example, narcs will lie to you with a straight face. Even though you know it's a lie. Even though you know it's a lie. It throws your mind into confusion because it makes no sense to you. When you try to call them out on it, they'll dance around it. They'll change the subject. They'll give you the silent treatment. They'll walk out of the room, or they'll sulk. They'll tell you you've got it wrong. They'll do anything but admit that, well, yeah, it was a lie. Narcs don't do admissions of guilt, mistakes, or wrongdoing, ever. So you're really barking up the wrong tree if you ever expect that they're going to. Now, another thing they'll do is deny that they said or did something, even though you have concrete proof. They're so convincing in their denial that you start wondering if you could be wrong. Now deep down, you know you're not, but because this behaviour just makes no sense to you, or because you've been subjected to it as a child and consider it normal, you let it pass, you know? It's kind of really, really weird the way it works. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. Now, the next thing to know is that there's no point in arguing with a narcissist, and you know it because you can't win an argument. They'll start word weaving or word salading to run circles around you, and you often end up knowing what the point of the conversation was in the first place. They're masters at just dancing round conversations. Okay, now this is further complicated when the narc throws in positive reinforcement during such encounters. Now, they might pick some random compliment out of the blue, which can do any or all of these three things that I'm just going to tell you. So it might be something, first of all, that flatters you and reminds you of the good times and the reason why you fell in love with them in the first place. Second thing is, it could be that it reinforces your belief that of course he still loves you. And third, it just throws you completely off the scent of where you were. And that's the whole point. That's why they do it. They do it to derail you. But the more they do this, the more you become emotionally unhinged. Now, if you're still at the stage of being in love with your narc, a huge part of you is desperate for them to be right. So you've got this additional conflict going on deep inside. You know they're wrong, but you don't want them to be. See, it's complicated. Or you may even think that they are unbalanced and possibly mentally unstable. But because you're in love with them, that part of you comes to the fore. You start believing they can't help it, they don't mean it deep down. You tell yourself that they really do love you. Or you, being the kind, caring, empathetic person you are, your nurturing spirit kicks in and you think, and wait for it, this is one of the biggest and most fatal mistakes you can ever make in a relationship with any narcissist. You think that you can fix them. Your love for them is strong enough to overcome any obstacle. And you really believe this. Now, when you get to this point of making excuses for them or thinking you can fix them, you're on very dangerous ground indeed, because the simple truth is you can't fix them. They don't want to be fixed, and as far as they're concerned, they're not broken. Okay? Now, another thing they'll do is project. They'll insist that you're doing all sorts of crazy, nasty things when it's actually them doing all of it. So, for example, if they're constantly flirting in front of you, they'll accuse you of flirting with every man that you meet. Even the overweight, aging delivery man when you have to sign for a package at your door, or the spotty-faced teenager who delivers your pizza. You'll be guilty of flirting with all of them. And of course, denying it is useless because they'll twist your denial into something else. They'll say you're denying it to hide your guilt. Bottom line is you just can't win. And the real damage that this causes you is that you then start to withdraw from people. You don't want to react with anyone, lest he accuse you again. And this is very often the start of the social isolation. That's he's going to be forcing you into, and that's another one of his strategies to control you. And all of this carry on can then have you starting to lie to yourself and second guessing yourself. And you'll often start lying to others in your circle to cover up what's really going on. Because you might, at this point, start beginning to be feeling shame and guilt. So that's more layers that are going to be heaped on top of what's going on, as if you haven't got enough to deal with. Now, you'll also very possibly start asking yourself if you're too sensitive or you're reading into things too much. And you can start ruminating on all of this 100 times a day or more. And it's all part of the pattern, and the narc knows it. They're systematically eroding your personality and breaking you down. And they haven't finished, there's more. There's no end to what these people get up to. Okay, so another thing they'll do is tell you that everyone else is a liar, and they'll tell you lies that they've made up, saying that this is what your family member or friend really thinks about you. And you might feel deeply hurt or confused, and you might start wondering, wow, could that possibly be true? Did so-and-so really say that about me? Now, if you try saying that you're going to confront whoever it was who's supposed to have said this, the narc will use more lies to cover up the possible outcomes of what might happen. So, for example, they'll say, well, of course your mum isn't going to admit that she said that. Are you stupid? Or something like, do you really want to embarrass your mother by bringing that up? Do you want to embarrass me? Or if you've gone as far as to get the denial about the lie from your mum, let's say, and you tell the narc this, he'll say something like, well, of course she would say that to you. So, of course, the seed of doubt is still there. So even though you may have had your mother tell you, well, of course I didn't say that, you're now thinking, well, has she lied to me about that? You see, you just go into a spin. They tie you up in knots. It's utterly confusing. But that's the whole point. That's their game. And this happens again and again and again. They are so tenacious. They will never give up. Now, all of these tactics used in the skillful hands of the narcissist and repeatedly seriously undermines and erodes your sense of self-worth. And these are not all the techniques by any means. I've only covered a few of them here, but it'll give you an idea of what to look for if you're not sure, if you're being gaslighted. Also look out for being trivialised, not being listened to, ignored, having things you've said or done completely forgotten about, it was unimportant, and generally anything that leaves you feeling rejected, unimportant and worthless, All of those are things you should not be feeling in a decent relationship. So, if you are being gaslighted, then what do you do about it? How do you protect yourself from this and retain your sanity? So, got a few tips for you. So tip number 1, and this is my most important advice, is to ground yourself in reality. You know inside you are not stupid. You know you're not losing your mind. Trust your gut. You owe it to yourself to stand firm in your belief in yourself, okay? So trust your gut. If it feels wrong and you know you're not losing your mind, really, really hold on to that. Okay? Now, this is really going to help you. Is tip number 2. So this is where you start keeping a log or a journal. Now, it's really important that you keep this in a safe place. So if it's electronic, make sure it's password protected so that your narc can never access it. Okay? If you prefer to have a physical journal to write in, think long and hard about where you can hide it and how accessible it will be to safely write in it whenever you need to, which is very likely going to be every single day. Now, your work desk or somewhere the narc can't possibly access it. Maybe at a friend's house might be best. But if that's not possible because maybe you work from home or you don't work at all, then you have to get really creative about where to hide it and when you're going to review it or write in it. Because you don't want your narc to be aware of it. Because if he is, he'll get his hands on it, he'll read it and he'll use it to belittle you further, and he'll probably even destroy it, okay? So when you've got the safe place that you can write all this down, and it could be on your phone, you know, use some kind of a journal app that is password protected, write it down what's going on. So you add dates, times, duration, what was said, and any other facts around that particular time. And here I also recommend that you write down how this made you feel, okay? Now, just writing about it as soon as possible after the event, firstly, makes you understand that it did happen, and that's going to help you to keep grounded and to know that you're not nuts. And this dossier, we'll call it a dossier, may also come in very handy for you further down the road. So, for one, it would be handy for you when you start doubting yourself and he starts twisting things around. You can go back and verify to yourself, well, here I have it in black and white. You don't show him, of course. You keep it to yourself. Because you know if you show him, you blow your cover. This is for you. This is for you to know that you can be completely grounded in the reality of what's going on. The other reason why it can be very, very handy is if you want to show it to a friend when you're telling them about what's really going on in this relationship. You can say, look, I have the examples here. You may even find that it comes in handy if you have to go to the police, okay, and get a restraining order. So really take that one on board, because that can come in super handy for so many things for you, okay? Tip number 3, and again, this one comes up again and again in so many situations, but it does so for a reason, because it's so vitally important. Reach out to someone you can trust, or find a support group, as I mentioned before, and I have one, so if you'd like to join, do check out the links below the video, and come in and let us support you, let me support you. It's so important for you to know that you're not alone, and you will get through this. So reach out to a trusted family member or friend, or all three, and a forum, or all three if you possibly can. You need support, okay? Now, tip number 4, Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Formulate an exit strategy and get out of the relationship if you possibly can. Now, I do acknowledge, even though I keep saying this, get out, get out, get out, no contact, no contact, no contact, I do fully acknowledge that there are situations where it's not possible. And these usually involve children, and I understand that there can be a long, long time where you have to try and retain your sanity in an awful relationship for the sake of your children. And I really, really feel for you if you're going through that. And I will talk about some things you can do to retain your sanity throughout that, but I'll make a special video dedicated to that, because if you're in that situation, you need a lot of support ongoing, and there are things that you can do that really will help you. So I will be covering that at some point as soon as I can, okay? Right, so, but that aside, ultimately your goal must always be to free yourself from the relationship. Even in that situation where you have kids, you've got to stay in the marriage until your children are of age. Then you don't have to worry about them the same way as when they're dependents. Your goal will ultimately be to get out of the relationship. So keep that in mind if you are in such a relationship right now, that one day this will end, okay? One day this will be over. Just hang on to that. So, I think I've more or less covered what I needed to cover on that now. So yeah, cut loose, go no contact, and start building, rebuilding your life from the inside out, because you are worth it. And as ever, I come back to my little mantra really, when you know your own worth and value, it becomes much more difficult for anyone to ever hoodwink you again. Step up for yourself, because you are worth it, okay? So that's it for this short video on gaslighting. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll be back again soon to share another video with you. So thank you very much. Bye for now. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that interesting and helpful. And if so, please hit like and subscribe for more videos. I'll be posting new videos every week. Now, if you'd like to hear more tips and connect personally with me, check out the links below this video. And you can also join my closed Facebook group, Infinite Self-Worth After Narcissistic Abuse. Now, this is a women's only group with exclusive content every week. So do check out those links below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now, and thanks again for watching. I appreciate your time. Thank you.